Hey friends, so I recorded, I would like to say it was part two of part one of my story, although I feel like this one was honestly, really getting into my story. I just wanted to give like a heads up that, there is, a lot of things that could be triggering for people in this episode, and that I'm definitely getting vulnerable. So I appreciate you guys listening and continuing to show up. So enjoy this episode. I don't know. Enjoy. Take what you want. I'm glad you're here. Bye. Hey friends, it's Abigail of VC. Welcome back to Judgment Free Zone. We need vulnerability and empathy now more than ever. I hope you are able to find room for more curiosity, self-compassion, and empathy for yourself and others while you're here. I show up so you can too. Literally, the first thing Daniel says to me is he knows I'm gonna go record. Have you ever thought about getting a titty dad? How is that? What even made you think of that?
Well, have you told him about the one you already have?
What are you talking about?
Your tattoo on your boob.
You're so dumb.
What?
I don't have a tattoo on my boob.
Prove it.
You're so dumb. Oh my gosh, that was good, Daniel. Very funny.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while, you're funny.
Those broken clocks right twice a day.
What?
You never heard this thing before?
What?
Even a broken clock's still right twice a day.
No.
Yeah.
Because of like going past 12 twice? I don't get it.
Because let's say that's the clock and it stops at 3 o'clock and it's broken. It's still 3 o'clock twice a day. 3 p.m. and 3 a.m.
That's what I was saying. So like going past 12 twice. That's what I meant. Like 12 a.m. and 12 p.m.
Okay.
You just used 3.
Uh-huh.
That's what I meant. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. Oh, okay. But then you looked at me like I was crazy.
Because it didn't make sense.
Because I used noon or the 12 p.m., 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. and not 3.
All you said was because it goes past 12.
Twice.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. That's what you're saying.
Well,
You just used 3 as your analogy, and I used 12.
what are you interviewing me on?
Well, technically you're interviewing me on it.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, one, you're going to need to get closer to the mic and be louder.
Tell me about yourself.
Okay, let's start somewhere where Hannah and I left off. I'm trying to... So basically, let's see.
You left off of your divorce, right? It's kind of where you and Hannah ended it.
Honestly, Hannah and I, when I listened back, and we both talked about this too, I mean, you listened to it, we really didn't cover much.
Well, I don't think so. I think you covered from where you started with Hannah, but it's like a brief over. To me, I don't think she knew like how in depth or not in depth you wanted to be. So I think you guys ended up doing like an overview.
So let's go back then.
To where your life got good and you met me.
Let's go back to me moving into the house in Waddell.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I obviously didn't know you, so...
So, I lived in the house in Waddell. Moved in there with the twins. And things were already, like, rocky at this point. In our marriage in general. Like, I had already been in our previous apartment, which again, like I was young and naive and dumb and didn't understand. but I was already like begging him even before trying again to have a baby, like that he would promise me that he was done at that point. And it was
Done with what?
Like pornography, masturbating, like the things that I had known about at that point. And so again, like that should have been a red flag to not have a baby with him again.
Sex addiction and going to therapy and all that at that point?
No, this is none of it. This
so
is
it's
like
more just like, hey dude, you're jerking off all the time. And
yeah, and there was other stuff before that, but at that point. So we get pregnant with the twins, and this is just showing a piece of like what I was living with, but we were going to move into the house on a Friday, and we had a bunch of help to help us move into the house on a Friday. And I literally, this was like 2 or 3 days after I had the babies, just to like give you a setting.
I'm picturing Rhaenyra going up the stairs, baby.
Oh my, Rhaenyra. That's literally twins. My life is Rhaenyra going up the stairs right now, but I'm going to my ex-husband. So this is what happens.
Y'all Adeline on the baby leash.
Yeah, she's 2.
You're holding both the twins, breastfeeding them.
Yep.
Blood is everywhere.
I mean.
And you're carrying a couch up the stairs.
So my ex-husband says, I don't want to wait till Friday to move into a house. I want to go now. And I literally had just had 2 babies, and I'm moving into a house with no help. Have 3 kids, and we have no one, and we're doing this ourselves. And I'm breastfeeding, and it was a disaster. So that just shows, like, you know what I mean? Like how much wasn't cared about or thought about, or, you know what I mean? Just what I want kind of thing in his mentality. We even we're moving into the house. And there was like problems with the air conditioning.
What time of year is this?
I mean, they were born in July. So it's fucking hot too. Like there was problems with the air conditioning. We couldn't get in the house. There was like all of these problems. And I remember like sitting on the floor breastfeeding the twins in 100 and something degree weather. No air conditioning, just had babies with a 2-year-old. Like it was rough. Anyways, move into the house. We're in the house. When I was pregnant with the twins, there was a point where we were driving to his ex, who he has a kid with, lived in Pine Top. And I would drive to Payson to pick up his daughter.
Because he's working or something?
Yeah. And so I was pregnant with the twins. And I did this even after the twins were born. I would drive up with the twins and my 2-year-old to pick up my stepdaughter at the time while pulling over to breastfeed. You know what I mean? Like by myself. Like I'd go up.
Pull over on the side of the freeway?
Yeah, I'd do what I had to. Jesus. During this time, one of the times, I left my phone at home. And my ex-husband had a sexting conversation with his baby mama.
On your phone?
On my phone.
Why didn't you do it on his phone?
I don't know. But it was on my phone. I can't remember the whole, you know what I mean? Like, I just knew it was on my phone and everybody deleted it and everything that was going on. Because I remember the night, I was too tired to drive back. I stopped at his mom's house and slept at his parents' house after dropping off or picking up his daughter. One of the two. So I had just met up with his ex. So all of this is happening in between me just driving and picking up their kid. Like,
that's wild.
Insane. And so nobody tells me. Again, remember, I'm pregnant with the twins. So I don't know anything at this time. I remember the day because, again, like these things. Anyways, so basically she wants to move to Oregon. And I don't know this. She decides to blackmail my ex-husband and says that if you don't let us move to Oregon, I'm going to tell Abigail what happened between us. And so my ex-husband tells me what happened. And naturally, I'm like, you have to leave. You know what I mean? Like, you need to go. Like, I can't, like, fix my marriage or have this happening, like, while you're still here. Like, yeah, like, leave. Leave Arizona. Like, go away. The morning that I found out about this, I mean, I was a mess, obviously, but I called Melissa, and because we were going to CCV at the time, called Melissa and was like, you know what I mean, probably told her the short version, whatever, wanted to go to church, or she invited me and I went. And this is where, like, it gets really, like, weird in the sense of just looking back now. But I go, and my friend was there, who is now the teacher at our kids' school. And obviously, like, unless people who have been following my story on, like, Instagram know what I'm talking about, and I'll get more in depth with it, but I can't use names. So this woman, who is my friend at the time, is there with Melissa and I. Like, we all did Mary Kay together, so we're all in this kind of universe and friends. And I'm like, I mean, clearly I'm a mess. I'm bawling, like, very much in my Christian lifestyle to what the world would say is at the time, like, not knowing what to do with my marriage, bawling my eyes out for, like, it to be restored, and my friend is holding me as I'm a mess. And she's gone through a divorce because her husband cheated on her and left her for the woman he cheated on her with. Like, they're married now still. And the reason why, like, obviously that part of the story is significant is because as time will go, that friend ends up having an affair with my husband.
She wasn't then, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not, it's hard to, like, I don't want to use names, but that friend that I went to the church, that's why I'm saying it's weird looking back, is I found out about my ex-husband's baby mama, about what happened. I went to church that morning and she was there because we're friends. So I don't know if I should use, like, fake names. So we'll just say
she. Like,
well, that's what I was, but you didn't understand what I was saying.
No, I don't think you understand my question.
I might not.
When that happened, you went to the church and
Yes.
she was there and you went with Melissa. Did she know your ex-husband or then husband at that time?
No, because she was my friend.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I'm saying. She's my friend.
I didn't understand how. Okay.
Yeah. So she's only my friend. Like, she hasn't met my ex-husband or anything. Like, I only know, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Again, we're friends because of the world that we're in. So, I mean, again, I'm trying to make my marriage work, whatever. I start going to this new church alongside this friend of mine is going through a lot. And, you know, I had reached out to her, like, again, like, let's hang out, like, more, like, whatever. Like, that's who I am, right? And she reached out to me at some point and was like, hey, I know you said, like, let's hang out more outside of, like, you know, the Mary Kay world. I'd love to, like, get my daughter and your daughter together, like, let's hang out more. And so she started coming over more to the house. Well, again, my ex-husband, like, you know, worked weird hours because he worked at Quick Trip and it was an overnight manager at times and all the things. And there were moments where I now had this friend, like, crying on my couch about how all of these things happened with her and her ex-husband and how he cheated on her and wanted, again, very Christian mentality of wanting my marriage to be restored and all this stuff. So I would literally, like, sit on the couch, like, praying with her for this to happen. And again, red flag looking back now, I remember having conversations with my ex-husband about how I didn't trust her. Like, something was there. And again, like, I had been so manipulated and gaslighted and obviously all of these things from my relationship in general that it was like, you could see I was trying to trust myself, but obviously I don't have a husband who's trying to protect me anyways. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly doesn't care about our marriage. And I remember having that conversation with him going like, hey, like, I would really appreciate it if you were just like not left alone with her. And again, like, does it make sense on my part? I'm like, well, let's invite you to my church. Like, you need more church people. Like, we need to, you know what I mean, uplift one another, like all these things. And so we start going to this church, and I mean, I was already going to the church. I wanted my husband to go to the church with me. I don't remember. I think he was like hesitant to switch. And then we were going for a while. I asked my friend to go with me. She started coming. Things were getting really rocky, and I was desperate for help from anybody at this point. I mean, we weren't in therapy. It was nothing. Like, I was just with, I mean, I was a wreck. That's really it. I had no one and nothing. In this time frame, my brother, his wife, and my ex-husband sat me down. And called me to go to the house. And I mean, they basically just like sat me down and like told me how horrible of a mom I was at the time. And I just like, I mean, I didn't know what to do at that point. Like, I felt really alone. And I remember getting up and leaving. And like, I just wanted to die at that point. Like, I couldn't see any out. And that was, it's weird to think that that's where I felt at my darkest, even like going through the divorce and like even being a single mom, but that was really hard. And that's like pretty much where I cut my brother off. And that's like where I never, like, I don't know what kept me alive. Like, again, I feel like it's that piece of me that wants to believe in God. But
That just, it sounds insane to me. I mean, anybody who knows you knows, I mean, one, how awesome and great of a person you are. But two, I mean, you love those kids so much. And it's insane to think that somebody would or could, you know, put you down that way.
yeah. I mean, so that was, I don't know, this is the beginning of the end. If that's what you want to call the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I feel like I kind of repress a lot of that. I'm sure if I really sat here and tried to think about it, I could remember some things, but at that point it was like, I mean, it seems short, but it was long. At this point now, we had been in the house for at least 2 years because he was going to start selling the house. And I didn't know what to do anymore with anything. And again, the whole, like, my friend thing happened towards the end, too. Like, this is all towards the end of us living in that house. And at this point now, I'm, like, sleeping on people's couches. I'm working at Dutch and trying to find safety wherever I could. And he was going to go live with his mom. And I was like, I'm not living with your mom. Like, there's no way. Like, I can't. Like, with everything going on, like, I was like, I can't. And so he wasn't going to give me any money to move into anywhere with selling the house. So I literally, was making minimum wage at Dutch Bros and sleeping on my friends. I mean, thank God for Rebecca and Emily. Like, many of nights I slept on their couch. And Danielle and her family, like, they were really there for me. Like, a lot of those people at Dutch. And then, like, and then my friend, and that's, like, the only thing I feel like I can say about her is my then friend, starts hanging out with my husband while all this is going on, and everybody is making excuses for it. It's fine. It's just, it's just like Bible study group. Like, it's not a big deal. Nothing's gonna happen. Like, they're allowed to be friends. Like, all of it. And I just, like, I'm over here feeling crazy. Like, this isn't okay. Like, and I mean, obviously, sure as shit, like, they're sleeping together and all of the things, and they're together, and that's pretty much where I just, like, fully checked out. Like, I didn't know what to do anymore. And I started going to another church because obviously I'm constantly, like, searching for refuge, you know what I mean? Like, to find this sense of peace and family that I didn't have and support. And I start going to this other church, and in between that time, my ex-husband breaks up with this friend and is, like, telling me the same thing that I was telling him. Like, she's crazy. I should have listened to you. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we're whatever we are at this time. Like, I'm still wanting to make my marriage work, and he's having a relationship with my friend, and I'm seeking for attention everywhere, unhealthy. And we find out that there are similar things going on in my ex-husband's family. So, sex addiction with multiple people. And there was a therapy group that specializes in the sex addiction and wives of betrayal out in Mesa. And they really, like, they were, like, really encouraging us to go. And And again, I'm going to this church and I kind of like had this woman like kind of take me, she was kind of being like a mentory woman to me, had similar things happen in her marriage, is very much going the direction which I had been told previously before, like forgive and forget. You're married, like you got to do what the Bible says, like, you know what I mean? This is your family, like you need to forgive and forget, like Jesus. And, you know, so with that going on, naturally, the healthiest thing in my mind is to do is, okay, like my husband at the time is not with this friend anymore, is trying to get back with me, which why wouldn't he? He's a narcissist, and whatever supply he can have to fulfill his cup is going to do that. And I'm being told to forgive and forget, so I immediately let him into this home that I just got with literally not thanks to him. So he moves back in. We start going to this group, and we start going to the group, which, by the way, his parents also went to, and they quit. So we didn't even know that they had started going to that, but they both quit. Like, and this was a year, I think, before us or something. And I can like feel it in my body. Like I'm like,
I can see it.
I like feel cold. Like I like am shivering. Like I need to like it almost feels like hard to breathe. You know, we start going to this group, and the first phase, there's 3 phases, and phase 1, you're with everybody, and you're like really learning about like addiction, basically, like sex addiction. And we would get split up into groups the second half of men and women, and that's where Eric, it's funny because like McKenna remembers the moment because that's where I met her, and I remember the moment, but again, like we see it differently in the fact that like Eric was like, you need to get out of that house. Like, is there anywhere like you can go? And I'm like thinking like, I just let him back into my house. Like I did get out because I did feel like I needed, you know what I mean, separation to like try to heal us or whatever we were doing. And again, my state of mind, and I'm like, I can't, like, nothing's wrong. Like, I'm the problem, right? That's what I'm thinking the whole time, is like, it can't, like, this has to be me. Something has to be wrong with me. And he's telling me that I need to get out. And obviously that doesn't happen. I literally like feel like I can't breathe. Just like feels like it's all there, like so much air in my like diaphragm. And I don't know, somewhere in this, again, probably repressed emotions. My ex-husband's like, we're gonna rebuild, right? Like, we're rebuilding, we're gonna get a house again and all this stuff. My ex-husband had, I don't want to like completely blame him for our financial problems. I, just as much as him, will take accountability for the fact that we both were not financially wise with anything that we did. And I know that he was not taught it, and I know I was not taught it. So I know that that just created a tornado of unwise decisions financially. We probably lived with people more during our marriage than, like, it wasn't even until I got my own home that I lived longer without anybody or family until I started doing it myself. Because, and again, I would say that that's why I'm saying this, is I was able to do those things because, again, even though I was unwise, I was not going to live with other people. I needed to do it myself. I didn't have a choice, right? Like, I didn't have anybody to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have family. We're gonna rebuild. So again, we're together again. And my friends who I was working with at the time at Dutch Bros said that we could come stay with them for a couple months while we were getting into this new house. And in that time frame, we're going to this group, and he starts, I mean, it gets really bad. Like, it's very, another level of manipulation and gaslighting. And now on top of my trauma, where he's now using verbiage that he's learning in therapy to now create new trauma by, like, using all of it against me. Which was just, like, a complete mind fuck. Like, it was just...
Yeah, talk about mental abuse.
Yeah, it was complete emotional, verbal, mental abuse. I mean, he was threatening divorce daily, if not every other day at this point. And we're also living with my friends, or again, I would have considered them that at the time. I don't think that relationship I have, even to this day, like, fully worked on or healed from. And again, I'm not saying, I don't want to, again, put full blame on them. That's not what I'm saying. I know that the betrayal that happened with them and the rejection that happened with them is also past wounds at the end of the day. Just, I mean, mine were constantly stirred up between the church, between my ex, between, you know what I mean? All of these things and events that continued to happen. Mm-hmm. And my ex-husband, basically, they were telling us how long we had to find a home, which was, like, fine, right? Like, everything's cool at that point. Like, we know what we're going to do. He starts threatening again, and I have, once again, no money. And once again, he leaves. And I'm living in these people's house, and they told me I had to get out. I had nothing again. And I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking, like, how can you say you love Jesus? Like, it did not make sense to me. Like, it did not. It still doesn't. Like, it still hurts so much. I mean, the twins were so little, and I'm working at Dutch Bros. Like, I had nothing. Same thing again. He's not going to give me any money. I've worked with all of this. I've given him my accounts again. Like, I know I did things wrong. And I'm not trying to, like, minimize the abuse that he did to me, like, in any way, shape, or form. And he's not going to give me any money again. And now tax time is coming up. And once again, he seeks out a lawyer trying to do whatever he can to literally, it feels like, kill me at this point. And thank God, like, the lawyer told him he had to give me money, like, that I had the right to half of
the tax return, and again, like that was the only way I survived. I moved out and I got myself an apartment and I rebuilt again. And this time I told him he tried to get back again with me. I told him I was done.
It's wild. You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Your resiliency is amazing.
Yeah. Man, this is gonna be really scary to post.
That is insane to think of, like, where you came from to where you are now.
No. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me share some of my story on the podcast. I know you've heard a lot of it, but I think you kind of heard some new things too.
I mean, I've heard all of this, but this is more detailed
Yeah.
than... So yeah, I guess, I mean, there'd be new things, but this is definitely more detailed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talk about all the things. I think that there were just like, you know what I mean, especially what I just shared. I think that was more the parts that I feel like I didn't share or haven't shared or talked about as much, like the betrayal of feeling betrayed and rejected by friends. Like that was the part I feel like I haven't really talked about as much. Man. I'm gonna need to do some self-care. Take a nap.
Yeah.
You think we'll ever get on and share your story on here?
No.
What? You have a good story too.
Yeah.
She's trying to take the heat off of me right now, you know?
I'm getting on here doing that.
Well, I love you and I appreciate you.
I love and appreciate you too. You're really special to me and the girls. And it's kind of fucked up as it sounds. I'm thankful you went through all that, because that has all helped you turn into what you are today, and I absolutely love you for it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to go through all of that.
Yeah. No, I know. I feel the same way. Like, I feel really sad for me and what I went through and what the girls went through and what the girls continue to go through. And I'm also thankful because, I mean, I know I'm not the only one who has gone through stuff like this. And I know that I wouldn't be who I am today without my story either.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of people, I think, who can share similarities in your story. However, I do think you're leading the pack in change and progress and working through all of your trauma and feelings and emotions to better yourself and your family.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of us, you included, are working on it. And
Yeah.
it's admirable. Like, you're doing the hard work.
Thank you.
I love you. Thank you.
I said good day.
I said good day. It would be funny if Alexa just
You gotta say
turned off our lights, because that's what she does when we say that. Alexa, I said good day.
Thanks, friends, for listening in. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. If you'd like to be more involved in our community, hop over to Instagram and find me at Abigail Levisi. Keep showing up. I will too. See you next time.